Your biggest strength is killing you slowly. The very trait everyone praises you for is why you'll never reach your potential. In the next few seconds, I'm going to say something that will make high achievers angry and average people uncomfortable. But if you're still watching after that, you might just become unstoppable. You're about to discover why the most successful people you know are also the most reckless. Not careless, reckless. There's a difference, and that difference is worth millions. But first, let me tell you about the man who lost everything because he was too careful, too smart, too prepared. His name was Marcus, and he had every advantage. Ivy League education, perfect connections, flawless strategy. He spent 18 months planning his business launch, analyzing every competitor, perfecting every detail. Then a college dropout launched the same idea in 3 weeks and took the entire market. Marcus is still planning his comeback. If that story made your stomach twist, if you felt that familiar sting of recognition, then what I'm about to reveal will either destroy you or rebuild you into something unstoppable. Because right now, there's a parasite eating your potential from the inside. You call it wisdom, you call it preparation, but its real name? Hit subscribe right now if you want to know what's really holding you back. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why your biggest strength is actually your deadliest weakness. Here's what nobody tells you about overthinking. It's not intelligence. It's cowardice wearing a graduation cap. Every genius who changed the world was called reckless by someone smarter who did nothing. Think about that. The smartest person in your circle. Where are they now? Probably still researching, still preparing, still waiting for the perfect moment that already passed them by 6 months ago. Napoleon conquered Europe with bad maps and pure audacity. Meanwhile, his opponents had perfect intelligence, superior numbers, and lost everything. Why? They were busy being right while he was busy winning. But here's where it gets interesting. Your brain is lying to you. Right now, as you watch this, it's constructing elaborate disasters that will never happen. Scientists call it negativity bias. Winners call it self-sabotage. Your ancestors needed it to avoid predators. You're using it to avoid success. Comment below, what opportunity did you kill by overthinking it? Be honest. I bet it still haunts you. Every billionaire has the same story. Not the one they tell at conferences. The real one. They moved before they were ready. They launched before it was perfect. They said yes before they knew how. While you're calculating risk, they're calculating profit. Jeff Bezos quit his Wall Street job to sell books from his garage. Everyone called him insane. Richard Branson started an airline without knowing how to fly. Pure madness. Elon Musk bet everything on electric cars when everyone knew they'd never work. Notice the pattern? They weren't ready. They weren't qualified. They weren't safe. They were first. And being first beats being perfect every single time. But wait, this is where your mind plays its cruelest trick. You're thinking, but what about all the people who failed? Good question. Let me destroy that excuse right now. You know what those failures have in common? They're all more successful than the person who never tried. Every single one. Because here's the dark truth about playing it safe. Safe is where dreams go to die. Safe is where you end up at 65 wondering what happened. Safe is the graveyard of potential. Type, I'm done waiting if you feel this hitting different. You want to know the real reason you hesitate? It's not fear of failure. That's what you tell yourself. The real fear? You're terrified of discovering you're more powerful than you think. Because once you know that, once you taste that power, you can never go back to being small. And being small feels safe. Here's what happens in your brain when you worry. Your amygdala hijacks your prefrontal cortex. You literally become dumber. You lose access to creative solutions. You can't see opportunities. You're operating with half your intelligence while convinced you're being smart. It's the most expensive mistake you'll ever make. But there's something else. Something nobody talks about. Successful people aren't fearless. They're fear-fast. They feel the fear and move before it can speak. They've trained themselves to act in the gap between stimulus and response. That half second where champions are made and observers are born. You have that same half second. You're just using it wrong. Every time you hesitate, someone else is signing the deal you researched. Every time you perfect the plan, someone else is fixing mistakes you're too scared to make. Every time you wait for permission, someone else is apologizing later. And they're winning. Subscribe if you're ready to stop being a spectator in your own life. Because what comes next will change how you make every decision from this moment forward. Here's the weapon they don't want you to have. Speed beats strength. Always. In business, in relationships, in power. The person who moves first shapes the game. Everyone else just plays it. But you've been trained to be slow, to be careful, to consider all angles. That training is killing you softly, one delayed decision at a time. Think about the last time you had a brilliant idea. What happened? You researched it. You discussed it. You refined it. And by the time you were ready, someone on Instagram was already selling it. They weren't smarter. They were faster. Comment speed if you're starting to see the pattern. This is what Machiavelli understood 500 years ago. Power doesn't flow to the worthy. It flows to the willing. The prince who waits for perfect conditions gets overthrown by the ambitious guard who seizes the imperfect moment. You're not competing against perfection. You're competing against action. Every second you spend in your head, someone else is building in the world. Every meeting you schedule to discuss, someone else is already doing. Every doubt you entertain, someone else is ignoring. And here's the kicker. They're not more confident than you. They've just decided that perfect is the enemy of paid. But you're about to learn something that changes everything. The world is biased toward motion, not intelligence, not preparation, motion. Watch what happens when someone walks into a room like they own it. Even if they don't, especially if they don't, the room reorganizes around them. That's not confidence. That's physics. Objects in motion gather resources. Objects at rest gather dust. Which one are you? Here's where most people mess up. They think they need to feel ready before they move. Backward. You move first. The feeling follows. Always. Your brain rewards action with confidence, not the other way around. Navy SEALs know this. They don't train to be fearless. They train to perform while terrified. The difference between elite operators and everyone else? Response time. They've shortened the gap between decision and action to nothing. You can do the same. Starting now. Drop a move first below if you're done waiting for feelings to match your ambitions. The cost of hesitation compounds. Every delayed decision doesn't just cost you that opportunity. It trains your brain to delay the next one. You're not just losing deals. You're losing instincts. But here's what successful people never tell you. They failed more before breakfast than you've tried all year. They just failed fast enough that nobody noticed. While you're preventing one perfect failure, they're collecting a dozen useful ones. Failure is data. Hesitation is death. Which brings us to the ultimate truth. You don't have time to be perfect. None of us do. The market moves too fast. Technology changes too quickly. Opportunities have expiration dates measured in hours, not months. The careful ones are still writing business plans for companies that no longer exist. Subscribe and hit the bell because you need to hear what's coming next. This is where we separate the watchers from the winners. Your greatest enemy isn't competition. It's not the economy. It's not your circumstances. It's the voice in your head that says, wait. That voice has cost you more money than any market crash. More opportunities than any competitor. More growth than any limitation. That voice is not your friend. It's your prison guard. But prisons are just rooms with locked doors. And you're holding the key. Every billionaire has a story about the moment they stopped listening to that voice. The moment they chose velocity over certainty. The moment they realized that perfect timing is a myth sold by people who missed their chance. The time is always now. The answer is always yes. The method is always forward. Comment your biggest goal below. Now tell me why you haven't started. I'll wait. Actually, no, I won't. Because waiting is what got you here. Here's the psychology nobody explains. Your brain treats unmade decisions like open computer tabs. Each one drains processing power. Each one slows your system. The most successful people aren't juggling more. They're deciding faster. Decision fatigue is real, but it's not from making too many decisions. It's from postponing them. Every "I'll think about it" is a withdrawal from your mental bank account. Every "let me get back to you" is a loan with compound interest. You're not being careful. You're going broke in the currency that matters most. Mental bandwidth. The solution is ruthlessly simple. Default to action. Make yes your automatic response and no you're considered one. Most people do the opposite. That's why most people are average. But you're still watching, which means you're not most people. Action mode. If you're ready to flip the script, let me tell you about momentum. It's not motivation. It's physics. Objects in motion stay in motion. The hardest part of any journey is the first step. Not because it's complicated, because it's first. After that, every step gets easier. Every action builds evidence. Every small win rewires your brain for bigger ones. But you have to start. And starting messy beats planning pretty every single time. Here's what the self-help industry won't tell you. You don't need more confidence. You need more attempts. Confidence is just competence's younger brother. And competence comes from repetition, not preparation. Subscribe if you want to master the art of acting before you're ready. Because that's the only art that matters. You know what separates legends from footnotes? Speed of implementation. That's it. Not talent. Not connections. Not luck. The gap between idea and action. Shrink that gap and you change your life. But here's the twist nobody sees coming. The world rewards speed with luck. The faster you move, the luckier you get. Not because the universe loves velocity. Because velocity creates surface area for opportunity. The more you do, the more can happen. Lucky people aren't special. They're just in motion. Comment, "I create luck," if you're starting to get it. You've been taught that patience is a virtue. Half true. Patience with results is wisdom. Patience with action is cowardice. You can wait for outcomes. You can't wait to begin. The market doesn't care about your timeline. Technology doesn't pause for your preparation. Opportunity doesn't knock twice because you were organizing your desk. You move or you're moved. You disrupt or you're disrupted. You choose or it's chosen for you. There's no neutral in the game of success. But here's what changes everything. You don't need to be ready for step 10. You just need to take step 1. The path reveals itself to those who walk it, not those who map it. Overthinkers die with perfect plans. Action takers die with imperfect empires. Choose your death. Empire builder below if you know which one you're choosing. The final truth is this. Your hesitation is someone else's opportunity. Every second you spend perfecting, someone else is profiting. Every moment you delay, someone else is building your dream with half your talent and twice your speed. They're not better. They're just not waiting for permission. Neither should you. The world is changed by those who start before they're ready, who launch before it's perfect, who speak before they're certain. Because certainty is a luxury the ambitious can't afford. You want to know the real secret? There isn't one. Just physics. Motion creates outcomes. Stillness creates stories about why you couldn't. Which are you creating? Subscribe now because your transformation starts with your next decision. And that decision is whether to act on what you just learned or add it to your collection of good ideas you'll implement someday. Someday is where dreams go to die. Today is where empires are born. But only if you move. Right now, in this moment, you have everything you need to begin. Not to finish. Not to perfect. Just to begin. And beginning is the only qualification that matters. So what's it going to be? Another video? Another course? Another year of preparation? Or your first imperfect step toward everything you want? Comment, "I move today and mean it." Because the clock is ticking, and it doesn't care about your fears. Neither should you. The game is motion. The prize is everything. The time is now. What are you waiting for?